Halo guys, balik lagi di channel BadRush. Jadi hari ini mari kita lanjutkan kembali perjalanan kita di Genshin Impact ya. So hari ini kita akan lanjut lagi event di Inazuma. Kita cek dulu. Kemarin kita itu part 2 ya. Kita cek dulu guys. Oke, sudah kebuka ya Act 3. Cuman itu nanti setelah ini, besok berarti ya. Iya, kemarin berarti kita nyelesain ini ya, Festival Ditch Part 2 ya. Dan kita menyelamatkan Tanuki Photoboard yang dikuasai oleh Arataki Gang, Arataki itu sama teman-temannya. Udah kita selamatkan, terus si siapa Arataki itu ke keracunan kacang lagi ya. Terus habis itu berarti hari ini kita akan lanjut untuk ini ya. Event detail sebenarnya dari sini bisa guys. Jadi kita akan menjalankan ini teater mechanikus. Oke, go to quest, cuman kita dari sini aja. Oke, dari quest aja. Ya udah, oke, tanpa berbasa-basi lagi langsung aja kita mulai. Oh ya, ini udah kebuka ya. Ini yang Act 3 besok ya. Jadi tapi hari ini kita ini dulu, kita selesaikan ini dulu. Oke, kita bicara sama Komakata dulu. Let's go. Kita selesaikan world quest atau isi dari eventnya ya. Setelah Act 2 selesai kan terus kebuka guys, kebuka ini. Nggak tahu ini sekarang apakah suruh foto-foto lagi seperti kemarin, maybe kita cek. What's theater mechanicus? Oh, tabletop game. Oke. Apa ini, permainan apa ini? Yu-Gi-Oh kah? Stage of Brilliance. Oke, seperti catur cenah. Oke, kita akan coba selesaikan langsung semuanya ya guys ya. Oke. Terus oke. Oke. Wah, ada 4 kalau ini guys. Oh, ininya belum kebuka kalau yang ini. Oh, oke. Kita coba ya, 1. Kayak apa sih ini? Oke, kalau berhasil ini with the wind winds. Malah harus 1500 poin untuk membuka yang sebelah guys. Oke, kita coba ya. Bentar, ini susah apa gampang nih? Gua belum ngerti. Oke, mungkin satu-satu lah ya. Ada 120, kita dikasih 120. Waduh, ini agak susah nih guys. Ada formulanya ini. Oke. Mungkin kalau ini lama atau susah, habis ini kita langsung Act 3 aja guys. Ini beda, kirain kayak kemarin cuma suruh moto atau apalah. Ini permainannya harus mikir, ini takutnya ntar lama. Kita coba dulu ya. Kita pakai yang tengah-tengah aja guys. Oke. Kita pakai yang tengah-tengah aja. Jadi masih ada sisa 40. Langsung ini sisanya kita pakai semua aja ya, karena ini masih stage pertama. Waduh, gimana sih? Oke, akan kita coba ya. Kayak catur cenah. Oke, kita coba ya. Ya, iya, kita pakai ini aja. Apakah kita bisa nyerang sendiri? Kalau kita bisa nyerang sendiri ya kayaknya kita suruh bikin domain gitu deh guys. Jadi kayak apa ya, this mekaniki, what is the meaning construct. Loh kok ini tapi nol. Oh oke. Oke. Dismantle, kenapa dismantle? Reconstruct. Bentar guys, kita punya 800. Ini angin. Oh bisa ditambahin gitu ya. Oh ya. Ini kan angin ya, kita ke ini tapi nol. What the hell. Ya udah construct. Oke, kayak gini kali ya. Ini apa ini, cahaya atau apa ini? BTW kok, oh masih nol maksudnya. Oke, I see. Banishment itu apa ya? Bentar guys. Oh ya, I see. Saya mengerti. Ini jalurnya ya. Jalur mereka dari sini juga. Ini angin. Kita kasih api. Ini listrik, kita kasih api boleh guys. Mungkin seperti ini maksudnya ya. Biar menambahkan ini ya. Biar overload. Bentar. Banishmentnya apa? Oh ini yang harus kita jaga ya. Oke. Di sini kita kasih angin boleh. Terus kita kasih apa namanya? Kita kasih listrik biar sakit. Biar overload, swirl maybe. Banishment itu apa ya? Bentar guys. Kita coba pasang semua ya. Banishment coba. Biar kita tahu apa gunanya guys. Belajar langsung dari pengalaman. Oh, ya, kasih angin sama api boleh. Oke. Wow. Udah maksimum. Waduh. Ya udah. Kayak gini mungkin boleh lah ya. Kita coba aja ya. Oke, sekarang kita bisa mulai. Kita coba ya. Oke. Iya, jadi kita nggak bisa nyerang. Cuman yang nyerang itu guys tuh. Wah, anjir. Wah. Oh. Terus udah cuma tinggal nungguin gini aja guys. Oke. Kalau banish apa anjir? Kena angin loh. Anjir. Tahu guys bisa menang apa enggak nih. Oke, mungkin akan kita selesaikan sampai akhir kalau gitu ya. Sepertinya menyenangkan. Cuman kita cek dulu aja. Wah, ada yang lolos tuh. Kayak man snitch. Oh, banish kayak gitu tuh. Anjir, ini kenceng banget ini. Ya, masuk anjir. Oke, tapi kayaknya tidak pengaruh ya. Yang penting kita sampai 1500. Kita coba aja dulu. Oke, tapi secara keseluruhan kayak gini ya gamenya ya. Kalau kayak ini guys, kalau kalian tahu game Art Night ya kayak gini kan. Tapi kalau Art Night kan kita pakai operator ya, maksudnya pakai karakternya ya yang nyerang ya. Kalau ini kita cuma naruh-naruh aja alat gitu. Oke, ada lolos 1 ya, but it's fine. Semoga tetap bisa 1500. Yang penting 1500 guys. Kita udah oke sebenarnya, cuman kayaknya di situ agak kesalahan sih. Cuman nggak masalah guys. Ini terus mana esnya? Itu ada air tuh kayak mana sih tuh? Ini mah kalau masih apa namanya? Ini mah lolos itu sih ini. Wah salah guys, berarti ya udahlah. Masih banyak sih dan poin kita sudah 900, jadi keep calm. Semoga aja yang itu udah mulai jatuh tuh 1. Waduh. Oke, lewat satu lagi masih kurang 600 poin. Waduh, nggak nyampe anjir serangannya. Kayaknya kita terlalu banyak di situ deh. Mungkin ntar bisa diperbaiki lagi. Jadi kita udah tahu lah cara mainnya. Semoga ini masih bisa ya 1500 mudah-mudahan. Tuh. Waduh, udah ruin guard pula. Anjir. Lucu anjir ininya. Lah kok lewat semua? Wah anjir. Wah, kalau ruin guard berat juga anjir. Oke, sudah 1100. Oh, ada yang jatuh juga anjir. Masih ada 36 musuh. Optimis sih guys. Tinggal 300 poin kok. Ruin guardnya yang susah. Gede banget nyawanya. Cuman lama guys, jadi mending kita langsung Act 3 aja ya, mumpung sudah kebuka juga. Waduh, tapi kalau isinya ruin guard semua ya agak susah anjir. Mati tuh. Nice guys. Bisa sih ini, masih optimis sih. Kalau rune card gila aja, gede banget ente. Ya udah lewat satu, tapi sudah 1400 guys. Bisa dibikin jatuh juga sebenarnya ya. Oke, ngerti, berarti jatuh juga termasuk poin ya. Aduh, lewat lagi tuh. Tapi udah tinggal satu hijau lagi, kita udah 1500 ya. Kita biarkan mereka lewat. PR-nya di ruin guard ya, yang nyawanya banyak gitu ya. Oke, sudah 1500. Sudah beres kita. Waduh, anjir. Terus gede gaban, gimana ngalahinnya coba.
Inactivity serves no purpose whatsoever.
Dan mungkin untuk menghasilkan ini, yang dua ini bisa kita dismantle sih guys. Kita dismantle, kita arahin ke tempat lain. Oke, nggak apa-apa buat pelajaran. Kan kalau main langsung gini kita jadi tahu cara mainnya gitu. Intinya seperti itu ya. Jadi kita suruh bikin pertahanan lah ya. Tapi kalau semuanya nggak lolos kayaknya agak susah juga sih guys. Tergantung kombinasi. Oke, kita sudah dapat 1700. Kita cek apakah yang penting kita dapetin semua hadiahnya guys. Kalau gua sih gitu, nggak perlu harus 3000 atau kayak gimana. Kita cek ya. Oke. Wah, anjir harus. Oh, 2500 guys ternyata. Anjir. Oke, tapi gua mengerti sekarang. Cuman ternyata lama guys. Oke. Dan jadi harus ngulang kalau gini. Tapi intinya permainannya seperti itu. Jadi mending kita langsung Act 3 aja ya daripada nonton ini kelamaan. Toh juga cuman apa ya, maksudnya agak lama, harus mikir juga, maksudnya nggak cuman misal cuma foto, atau kalau foto kan enak ya, cari udah beres. Kalau ini kan harus, kalau kalah ya ngulangin ya. Sebenarnya ya ntar gua ulangin nih, sangat aneman nih, kurang berapa tadi kita 700, tapi udah ngerti lah caranya. Jadi caranya seperti itu guys. Kalau kalian mau coba taruh sesuai apa ya namanya, sesuai keinginan kalian, dan buatlah atur strategi yang bagus. Jadi itu contoh aja, silahkan kalian eksperimen sendiri dan semoga sukses. So ya sudah, kita langsung lanjut Act 3 aja, soalnya itu bakal lama banget, dan maksudnya cara mainnya gitu-gitu aja sih. Meskipun yang kemarin juga cuma cari foto doang sih, cuman kan langsung beres guys. Jadi gue bisa tunjukin kalau ini nggak langsung beres bisa lama ini nanti. Jadi gue tunjukin contohnya aja. Oke, jadi langsung aja kita mulai Legend of Lukisan lagi ya. Kita mulai Act 3 kalau gitu, biar segera beres juga eventnya. Let's go. Tunggu jam 7. Oke, kita akan menginap di sini. Jam 7 ya. Kayaknya bukan jam 7 ini deh. Coba dulu ya. Act 3, siapa yang datang di hari ketiga ini ya kalau nggak salah?
It's already time for us to
Oh,
meet the
udah kok.
dogs. Let's
Untung.
go.
Ayo, let's go.
Arrival schedule set.
Go to the dock. Siapa lagi nih yang datang?
Look, that figure on the wharf. It looks like Kazuha.
Oh, Kazuha yang datang ya.
Greetings, traveler in Paimon. I heard there would be guides for the Iridori Festival, but I didn't expect it would be you two.
We didn't expect to see you either. Returning as a guest for the Iridori Festival, no doubt.
I was a little surprised myself when I received the invitation. But after wandering the outside world for so long, it's good to have an opportunity to return to my homeland and pay respects to my old friends.
Kazuha, when we saw you in the distance just now, you seemed to be looking for something. What happened?
Ah, yes. You see, when I came off the boat with everyone just now, I suddenly heard light footsteps around me. I could tell they were not footsteps of a regular passenger. But by the time I turned around, the person had already disappeared. I only heard a splash come from below the pier. Even though I didn't manage to catch a glimpse of them, I found this strange piece of paper by my feet.
Oh, does the paper happen to have a poem written on it?
Huh. How did you know? Fascinating. It's almost hard to believe such things could happen. Sure, here it is. Please, have a look.
Oke, kita dapat petunjuk lagi ya. Ini siapa ya, Mas? Oke, ini bisa jadi buat
Aoi no Okina's poem
apa?
ended with a
Inspirasi
reference
buat
to Akihito.
Al-Budi.
And sure enough, this is a story about him. Story this time basically says that Akihito got his name from his love of red seals. However, the shogun discovered that he had committed plagiarism, and he was soon exiled. Well, if Paimon were to rate today's story, it sounds pretty unfortunate.
Well,
I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with this story. I too was once wanted as a criminal by the shogunate. So I'm not all that different from Akihito mentioned in this story.
But according to the story, Akihito was exiled by the shogun because of his wrongdoings. You did nothing wrong, Kazuha. Huh? Traveler, what are you thinking about?
Ah, by the way, you mentioned that your friend has been struggling because he's unable to sign his name quickly, right? In Liyue and Inazuma, there is a saying, that which has been stamped has also been signed. Perhaps using a seal could be a feasible solution. While sailing at sea, I sometimes carve things to pass the time. If you wish to create a stamp for his seal, I might be able to help.
Wow, that's an idea! Quick, let's go tell Albedo!
oke. Act 3 terbuka, let's go. Kita lanjutkan lagi. Karena eventnya susah. Gak susah sih guys, cuman karena kita tadi belum ngerti kan, sekarang jadi kan ngerti. Ntar gue bakal coba sendiri dan minimal 2.500 ya biar dapat semua hadiahnya.
Albedo, we figured out a way to help Shincho!
Interesting. A story of the 5 Kasen appears again, and with a timely solution. Stamped seal, huh? Let me think. Indeed, it is an efficient solution. If we use a stamp, then Xingxue won't have to struggle with his handwriting anymore. However, since Xingxue's signature has been previously revealed to the readers, it would seem insincere if he only used the stamped seal for his new books. But I have another idea. Using a seal is a part of it, of course. Let's go to Uyu restaurant now to discuss my idea with everyone.
Oke, kita ke Uyu sekarang. Ke atas ya. Xingqiu di atas ya. Ini dia.
Yes, that's it, Jinyu. Your writing has greatly improved today, which means yesterday's intensive training was effective.
My apologies, but I simply can't do it
Dapat tekanan
anymore.
anjir.
My hands are so sore that I can't even move them anymore. I should have known better than to read novels during calligraphy class.
You just had a 10-minute break. Come on, you can do this.
When it comes to pushing a deadline, there's no one more brutal than Mr. Hirayama.
No wonder Lady Ai would always send the editorial director to handle troublesome authors.
Whoa, this is getting scary. It hasn't even been that long and Shincho's already zombified.
Mr. Hirayama, we found a solution that might just solve our dilemma. In both Liyue and Inazuma, seals are widely used as the equivalents of a signature. If we use a stamp to leave the author's seal on the books, then we could make the signature process a lot easier. Of course, a seal on its own is not enough. So, I propose that each signature consists of two parts. First, we'll use a personalized seal. We can simply carve one using Chenyu's signature as the design. In addition, I'll also design a simple but elegant pattern that's easy for Chenyu to write. That way, he will only need to draw a simple pattern on each book.
Let me think. All right, I think that would work. Not only does it still involve the author's own handwriting, but the result should be very beautiful as well.
So, what you mean to say is, I've been saved from this predicament?
Mr. Hirayama, it suddenly occurred to me that the reason we gave up on live book signings previously was because it would take too long for the author to sign each book. But if we adopted Calx's proposed method, we might have enough time to do signatures at the live event. And if all the authors signed their books in the same fashion, then Genyu's signature wouldn't look out of place.
If you think it's feasible, I would certainly be happy to design signatures for the other authors as well.
Yes, and you may leave carving the stamps to me.
In that case, I shall contact the other two authors participating in the new release event.
Okay.
It is a great honor to use a signature designed by Calx.
My pen name is quite complicated and isn't suitable for signing events. However,
Jadi
if we
dibikinin
implement
kayak
this new
dibikinin
format,
ini ya,
then it
cap
will be a
gitu ya,
dream come true for me as well.
biar
Great!
cepet.
Looks like everyone's on board with the idea.
I'm sorry to have kept you busy for so long, Jinyu. Please, take the next few days to have a good rest. We'll handle everything from here. The books that Jinyu already signed can be used as special prizes in future events held by the Ai Publishing House.
We did it. The event is saved.
Thanks to everyone's efforts, Onodera and I are finally free of that mess.
That's right! You're finally free, Shincho! Maybe you should step outside for some fresh air.
Jalan-jalan kita. Oke. Lagunya lucu anjir di sini tuh. Gua keinget vibe ini anjir. Mana ya kalau di FF tuh? Kok gua lupa, tapi kayak hampir-hampir mirip gitu, guys. Vibe-nya
We still
gitu.
have some time to burn. Where should we go next?
Walah ketemu. Wih,
Trevor,
kayaknya.
there you are.
Oh, it's Ayaka! And Venti!
That's an interesting
That's an
combo.
combo.
I was just going to the festival venue to prepare the Ikebana lesson when I found a strange piece of paper on a flower stand. This
Kayak
bar just
Ayaya
happened
juga
to be
nemu
close by at the time.
kertas
He informed me
petunjuk.
that you've also found similar papers recently. As such, we came together to find you two. But the paper she found isn't quite the same as the ones we found before. Here's the paper. Please have a look.
I submerged the first and tried. Okay.
Huh.
Cuma
All the
singkat
poems we
tumben.
found before were roughly the same length. But this one is only 2 lines.
And even though there are only 2 short sentences, neither of them are next to the title or centered on the page. The position of the writing seems to indicate that there is other content written on this paper besides these 2 lines.
If we take the poem literally, it reads, "Dip this paper in water and see the truth naturally appear." Speaking of which, I have an ancient text at home, specializing in ancient and exotic stories. It mentions a special ink that will show itself when wet and disappear when it's dry.
So, shall we give it a whirl? It just so happens that there's a pond nearby.
Oke, kemana nih? Ke kanan langsung. Go to the pond. Apa sih pond? Pinggir sungai atau apa? Oke, dikasih air.
Look, it's really working. More words have appeared on the paper. Let Paimon see what it says.
Oh, oke. Terus jadi nambah ya. Bla bla bla.
The story says that after Sumizomi got the collection of poems from Akihito and put them into a stream of water, the plagiarized words in the poem became blurry. Huh? Why would that happen?
Anjir, rame kali Jo kita.
In the past,
Orang berapa
when
ini
printing was
karakter
not yet
berapa?
well developed, handwritten text could easily become smudged in books when exposed to moisture. To ensure the text lasted longer, they'd either write using a special ink or coat the paper's surface with a waterproof coating once the writing was finished. Such special inks are time-consuming and laborious to produce, and the waterproof coating could also prove just as difficult. However, since Akihito's poetry collection was an important gift to be presented to the shogun, surely one of those 2 methods was used to protect it. But as for the plagiarized poems, not only would they lack Akihito's seal, but the words would also react differently when exposed to liquid.
Which means Akihito didn't plagiarize his work. He was set up.
Yes, it appears that this is the truth that Sumizome's story is trying to convey. Although the story is saddening, I've decided on the subjects to use for Akihito and Sumizome's portraits.
Okay.
Kazuha, Ayaka.
Jadi
Would you be
model.
willing to be the models for my paintings?
I would be delighted.
Yes, as would I.
There you go. The next 2 portraits should be ready in no time.
Yes. And now that all
Oke,
4
sudah ada
stories have all
4
been
story.
collected,
Tinggal story
the
terakhir
story
di
of the 5
Act 4
Kasen
ya.
is now fully completed.
Act 4 siapa yang terakhir ya? Ini cerita lagi guys.
Long ago, Inazuma had 5 legendary poets.
Ini suaranya.
People bestowed upon them the title of the 5
Ya, ya.
Kasen.
One year, the poet Suiko
Oh,
made his way to
gabungan, guys.
Tenshukaku
Banyak
and
suara
presented the
ternyata.
Kasen's work for the shogun's perusal. But a page from the works of Aoi no Okina had been torn out, and Suiko was questioned regarding the matter. Suiko pleaded guilty. He admitted to drinking at the tavern the night before, and vaguely recalled a mysterious figure approaching while he was intoxicated.
That figure was none other than Aoi no Okina himself. This turn of events had begun with an unnamed individual, under whose coercion Aoi no Okina was forced to take drastic measures to retrieve a page of poetry. He knew nothing of this individual's true intentions. All he knew was that the poem had to do with an old acquaintance, Akihito.
Akihito had once belonged to the 5 Kasen. Each poem he composed, he marked with a scarlet red seal, hence the Aka in his name. Such a distinguished writer was he, and yet one of the poems he had submitted the previous year was found to be plagiarized. Akihito was exiled for his crimes, and only 4 of the 5 Kasen remained.
Oh, anjir, di
Sumizome went over Akihito's poems
dibunuh
and
anjir.
noticed that the plagiarized poem lacked his seal. She immersed his poetry in a stream nearby, and only on the plagiarized poem did the ink run. Aoi no Okina passed by and witnessed Sumizome's doing, which he then recorded in a poem.
Dia tulis di
Thus transpired
puisi
the
ya,
events of
poem.
Suiko's poetry submission, and this is where the story comes to an end.
Nah, kan tinggal 1, katanya 5 Kasen. Kurang 1 kan tadi. Ya mungkin ntar terjawab di ini guys, yang ke Act 4. Wih, keren guys. Dikira plagiarisme.
Yeah. Ever since we completed the story of the 5 Kasen, there's still one thing Paimon hasn't been able to figure out. One of the 5 Kasen is called Kuranushi, right? It's just that, how could the story of the 5 Kasen finish without him appearing at all?
Oh! Have you really not noticed?
Huh? Not noticed what? This is no time to be playing games, Tone Deaf Bard!
What he means is that the story of Kuranushi was already embedded within the 4 poems.
Huh? Really?
That's right. The key lies in the poem that Aoi no Okina wrote after seeing Sumizome rinsing the poetry collection. An average person could never understand the scene of a young girl washing Akahito's poetry collection in a stream. Even Aoi no Okina couldn't figure out the meaning behind Sumizome's actions. He was simply reminiscing and thinking about his old acquaintances. However, for the perpetrator who framed Akahito, it was completely obvious. He was worried that if this poem was seen by the Shogun, then the Shogun could discover the truth behind the plagiarism incident. If that happened, then he'd be finished. So in desperation, he threatened Aoi no Okina to make him tear out this poem.
Which means, the one who threatened Aoi no Okina is the same person that framed Akahito! What? Kuranushi?
That's right. Though there are only 4 poems, they still managed to tell the complete story of all 5 Kasen. Since the Shogun mentioned in the poems is certainly not the one of the 5 Kasen, the only character left is the mysterious one with an unknown identity.
Iya, yang ini ya.
Okay.
Masih belum tahu.
Starting to get it now.
However, this also brings something else to mind. The story of the 5 Kasen has more or less reflected everything that's been happening around us lately. Which begs the question, is there a Kuranushi in our world as well?
Ada Kuranushi juga.
In our world?
Speaking of which, I wonder if our dear Kazuha has come up with anything.
Oh, right! Kazuha! He's been pretty quiet this whole time. Let's ask him!
Kenapa harus pakai action? Kenapa nggak langsung?
Hey, Kazuha! Are you okay? You've been standing in front of this blank canvas for a while, and you don't look so good.
Apologies for making a wild assumption.
Pasti Act 4 guys, ntar ketemu pelakunya.
Has the story of the 5 Kasen reminded you of anything?
Yes. A few things did come to mind, actually. However, they were nothing more than some past incidents regarding my family. I don't mind sharing the stories, but I'd prefer not to bring you any more trouble.
Hey, we're all friends here, Kazuha. You can always tell us whatever's on your mind.
Kaidehara, please forgive my assumption, but perhaps you were thinking of the Raiden Gokuden?
The Raiden Gokuden? What's that?
It appears that Miss Kamisato and I were thinking of the same thing. But it also has much to do with the Yashiro Commission. It would be improper to speak of it here without the consent of Miss Kamisato.
It's fine. Those of us here are all trustworthy, so there isn't any harm in it. However, this matter is somewhat complicated and may be difficult to explain. Let me start with the Raiden Gokuden. As you all know, the Yashiro Commission's primary purpose is managing ceremonial and cultural affairs, and Inazuma's art of forging swords is a very important part of our culture. The Raiden Gokuden were once the top 5 schools of the forging art in Inazuma. Although these families were swordsmiths by craft, they also held many important positions in the Yashiro Commission. Unfortunately, of the 5, only the Aminoma art still maintains its artisan lineage. The descendants of the Ishin art are also still alive, but the craft has been lost to time. The descendants of the Ishin art are none other than the Kaidehara family.
Whoa! We knew Kazuha came from a noble family, but we had no idea about his connection to the Yashiro Commission and sword making.
Yes, but that's all part of the past now. The Ishin art was lost with my great-grandfather's generation. My grandfather was dissatisfied with my great-grandfather's lack of effort. When he was young, my grandfather traveled all over Tevat to find a way to revive the family business. But it was to no avail. And in my generation, our last remaining family property was lost as well.
I heard my elder brother mention that the decline of the Raiden Gokuden happened very rapidly. In the span of a few decades, 3 of the families suffered various misfortunes and disappeared completely. Later, there was speculation that all of these misfortunes stemmed from some background machinations, meaning that someone wanted to wipe out the Raiden Gokuden. However, since not every family of the Raiden Gokuden came to ruin, such explanations were treated as nothing more than a conspiracy theory.
Indeed. I've also believed such ideas were just theories and rumors. However, I know that a major incident happened to my great-grandfather when he was young. Not only did it affect the Kaedahara clan, but it nearly jeopardized the Kamisato clan's position in the Yashiro Commission as well. After reading the story of the 5 Kasen, I can't help but feel like it's pointing me toward the truth behind that incident.
What exactly happened to your great-grandfather, Kazuha?
I still can't say. I need to speak with someone to verify the details. Let's meet here again at noon tomorrow. I will tell you everything I know then.
Oke, masih lanjut berarti kayaknya ini. Oh, udah. Oh, berarti itu dilanjut untuk Act 4 ya, guys. Oke, langsung kebuka 2 anjir. Oke, kalau begitu ini besok lah ya. Ini kayaknya gelut-gelut deh. Ntar kita besok kita lihat ya. Ini juga The Floral Courtyard. Ini kalau nggak salah ada di preview ya. Yang apa namanya? Yang nanam-nanam terus apa ya namanya? Ngerawat tumbuhan kalau nggak salah. Kita cek dulu. Oke, sudah langsung kebuka 2. Terus ini yang terakhir Act 4. Kita lihat besok. Kita cek questnya guys. Oke, nambah ya 1, 2. Jadi besok akan kita lihat gimana. Bukan besok sih, kita cek lusa berarti. Karena kita bakal ini dulu guys. Nah, Buyer's Guide to the Statue of Her Excellency the Almighty Narukami Ogozo, God of Thunder. Besok kita akan ini dulu, Festival Dudes Part 3. Baru lusa kita akan cek apa namanya eventnya. Kalau ternyata mudah seperti apa namanya cuma cari foto, tapi kalau gambarnya kayak gini kayaknya ini gelut. Dan yang ini kalau nggak salah nanam apa ngerawat tumbuhan ya. Pokoknya kita lihat lusa lah. Mungkin langsung 2 ini kita jalankan bisa. Pokoknya lihat lusa. Kalau emang 2 ini susah atau lama kayak ini, mungkin akan gua tunjukin contohnya aja. Kita akan nyoba bareng-bareng 1, 2. Kita akan nyoba bareng-bareng, mungkin 1 kali. Terus habis itu kita akan lanjut langsung Act 4 aja, oke? Tapi kita lihat saja besok lusa, oke? Jadi hari ini sampai di sini dulu aja. Thank you buat yang udah nonton, like dan subscribe, yang udah share dan komen juga. Sampai bertemu besok and have a good day. Bye bye.